Okay, so to edit our character animator, we are going to be using After Effects. This message seems to come up a lot. Um, if we can uncheck that, then hopefully it won't happen the next time. All right, we can clear out this welcome message as well if you're getting started, because the first step on our directions in After Effects is to go to the File menu and then Scripts, and we're going to select New Comp from Character Animator Recording. All right. All right, so I'll go to that folder, which I told you guys to copy over in animation, and then we're going to choose this one, and then all we have to do is choose the first picture of that sequence. All right, so what we did when we exported from Character Animator, the option was PNG sequence. So you can see here that it made 349, you can think of them as frames. All right, it took all those moving things and it took pictures during that time. So it made 359 pictures, and then it also creates a WAV file. So right now, if I go in here, I can see my character pop up. You can scrub through, and you get kind of a low-res version. This box down here is your resolution. So once you're in here, you can change this to full if you'd like to. It's going to slow it down a little bit. But you typically get a little better rendering there. All right, and we can also go to the window and select preview, and you could play it through this way.
Hey Dad, what's that thing? If you wait.
All right, so these are all the separate parts of the clip.
Go.
All right, so I did multiple characters, so I would have to trim this. All right, you also see this green line that's going across. That's the rendering process of kind of almost think of as buffering. All right, so in Premiere now we see that we have this picture and the audio at once. Now if you have two characters, it's really important to be able to split things up and find the breaks in between them. If you only have one character, it's not as important, so I'll kind of do that last. But regardless, what I like to do is kind of think about grouping these two things together and combining it to one layer. If I right-click it and select Pre-Compose, what it will do will combine the audio and video into one type of layer. So I'm going to do that now, and that's really useful so that you can have fewer layers in here and not have to worry about things being moved kind of out of order. So if I just right click that as I did and select pre-compose, now we have this new scene that it's created here. So, and this is your project folder, all right, kind of like your library. So we have the first scene. If I click on that, why is that? Oh, so I guess they're just named the wrong way. All right, so audio and video is here, and this one is combined. So if you look at your layers here, this one doesn't have a separate audio. This one does. So maybe I would just rename this, and I would say Scene Bradley PC for pre-composed. All right. So I'm going to work on this one where they're both together. And now let's start working, because for most of you, you need a background image in there, right? So go and find an image to use and save it wherever, and then we'll import it. I found my picture, so now I'm just going to right-click in my project panel here. I'm going to say Import File. I'm going to go to my desktop where I saved that. I'm going to grab this picture, and then all I have to do is drag it to the layer underneath of it. All right. I can, so it's small, right? It's not filling my screen. I can, oh, so now, and then now the problem is I can't select it because it's behind this picture. So just like in most programs, we can lock the top layer by choosing that there. Now I can drag this out. So you can scale it now by dragging there. You also have this little fly out arrow, which will reveal this transform tool. And this is going to be really useful when we start to animate. So I can use my scale properties here, and I can move them around or adjust my scaling there. I could also go in here, and maybe if I want to position, oh, I'm locked, so I can't do that. So maybe if I want to move him down a little bit, so he's not just kind of hanging out there, or he could be back there. Now I'll do this like that. All right, so now we have a background in here, and it's scaled to fit. All right, so for titling, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the T up here. All right, and if I just click and drag, all right, I can create a title for this. William, actually, what should I call this? Moonwalk. I don't know. Not.
We're not on the moon, Mr. Visa. We're on the water. I'm in Death Valley.
Whatever you think is relative to your scene, all right?
Okay.
So,
Alright, my place is called the moon. My moon.
you have all of your character attributes over here. Don't forget, anything that you see is blue. Instead of typing in these values, you can click and drag them to kind of act as a slider, all right, which makes it a lot easier to adjust your stuff there. The fonts, they don't give you a preview as they do in some, so you do have to kind of guess. But if another thing that is kind of useful, if you have it kind of just clicked like this, you can press the up and down arrow to kind of scroll through the fonts, so you're not going through the menu. You guys see what I'm doing here? So if I choose the font over here and have it all blue, and then press up or down, then we get, you can kind of scroll through the fonts that way. All right, you can position it by using the selection tool, and maybe I'll put a stroke on here. So that would be the solid box. This is just like Illustrator. The solid box is your fill. The one with the hole in it is your stroke. So, and I'm actually gonna, I'll sample a color from the scene or the picture by using the eyedropper tool. And then I can just increase my stroke size a little bit. All right. So let's see everybody with a something other than the default font with a stroke on it. So to animate our title, we're going to use a preset. All right. After Effects has a lot of animation presets. You can still do things manually, and we'll do that with the credits, but we're going to start with an easier one. All right. So if we go to Window, and then Effects and Presets. All right, you should see this panel that pops up over here. Matt, did you find that? All right, within there, we're going to go to Animation Presets, and then Text. And there's a whole bunch of them in here. I'm going to try to, and then I'm going to use, though, this folder called Animate In. I'd like you to pick one of these. And all you're going to do is drag it onto your text. All right, so I'm going to use fade up and flip. Now, the one thing that I think I did incorrectly there, I didn't recognize where my playhead was. So you might want to undo that and just make sure your playhead is all the way back to the beginning, because otherwise it's going to apply that effect at a later point. So now, if I do this and scrub through, I can see that it's flipping up like that. Or I can use my preview panel over here
Hey, Dad, what's that?
to watch it happen. All right, so that was a real easy way to apply an effect. I'm not going to spend time talking about sound, because all you're going to have to do is import it to your library and then just drag it down to your layer stack. All right, so that shouldn't be anything that I really need to talk about now, I don't think. But what I do want to discuss is the credits, all right? Instead of them rolling for this project, I'd like them to kind of fade in and out and then kind of hold at the end. All right, so if we move our playhead kind of to the end of the animation, let's say that the credits should happen right about here. All right, so I'm going to select my text tool, and I'm going to draw a box just like we did before. We're going to say produced by